Aloha from the beautiful big island of Hawaii. I'm Kori Gaila, holistic beauty and wellness consultant, and this is Let's Talk About Health. I'm so happy that you decided to join me again this week. Last week, if you were with us, we were delving a little bit into the immune system. We talked a bit about microorganisms and we got just a little bit into enzymes. So we're going to follow up a little bit more with that this week. And my guest today will be giving us a demonstration of how you can incorporate some of these enzymes and microbes into your diet simply and easily at home. So I'm excited for that. A couple of quick things before we get into it. One, I want to tell you that I am being honored as one of the 100 successful women in business at the Global Trade Chamber Conference and Expo happening on September 19th. So I'm really, really excited. This award was going to be given out, my goodness, was it in March? I believe March. And then of course we had the pandemic and I was going to fly to Miami, but with COVID, we were not able to travel. So I'm so excited because the Global Trade Chamber, and I'm sure you've seen their ad on our show here, their commercial ad is doing a virtual event. So I encourage you to sign up online for that virtual event on September 19th for the Global Trade Chamber, 100 Successful Women in Business. It's going to be a great and exciting event showcasing a lot of businesses globally. There's going to be all kinds of booths, virtual booths and lectures, so check that out. Again, I encourage you to write to me at Kori@KoriGaila.com, my email, and if you have any questions or want any information, want me to cover any topics, please feel free to email me. And again, please visit my website at www.KoriGaila.com. I've got some new YouTube videos. I'm trying to keep up with everything. So I hope I can bring you all sorts of interesting content. And, send me an email if you want to have a little consultation time with me. That would be awesome. And again, thank you to AME Studios for doing a great job managing my website with everything I'm doing. I could not do it on my own. So that's AME Studios. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. My guest this week is going to be Lydia Zuriga, and she is a wonderful woman that lives here on the Big Island, and we do some work together, we do some play together, and I wanted to bring her on by to give you a little do-it-yourself food fermentation at home. She is quite an expert. She and I are kind of parallel, we have very similar interests and we've studied very similar things. And so she's definitely a soul sister, and I'm excited to have her visit us and share with her some of her amazing knowledge. She did study permaculture in New Zealand and cheese making. So we have that in common. Cheese making is really fun. She was the owner of 3 restaurants, one in Puerto Vallarta, one in New Zealand, and one in Guadalajara, Mexico. So that would be Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and Guadalajara, Mexico, as well as New Zealand about 13 years ago. She's also a massage therapist, and she's been really delving into the world of fermented foods for about the past 8 years. She works with fermented foods and beverages. So that is exciting. And she's got a really quick and easy way to put together some kimchi at home. So if you like kimchi, stick around and she's going to show you how to do that from home pretty easily, pretty quickly. There's no real reason we shouldn't all be doing this right now. We can grow some of these vegetables in our yard or even in pots on our windowsill and then throw them in the fermenting jar she's going to show us, and be doing this at home. So that's pretty awesome and exciting. So time for my quick little personal story, which I have been doing this little bit every show, thanks to a suggestion from one of my friends, because apparently some people like my stories. So I personally have celiac, which is an autoimmune disease. That was one of the things that sent me on this long path and journey into natural medicine and holistic health. Although, I always had an interest in that, from the time I was little, turned out that my own health issues led me on this journey. Now, celiac is you have a genetic predisposition, and it's really just an inability to digest gluten, which sounds like not a really big deal, right? But the small intestine is covered with these villi, right? So these finger-like structures, and it creates a large surface area for absorption of nutrients. And when you have when you have celiac, you don't have the ability to digest this gluten, and this gluten is this protein from like wheat or barley, right? And it's sticky. And what it does is it kind of glues those villi together, and you lose surface area for absorption of nutrients. So it's very elusive because it can present like a number of different conditions, whether it's thyroid issues or diabetes in some people. I've lost teeth. It's a slow malnourishment. It can affect your endocrine system, your hormones. So it really is kind of a bear. And I didn't discover it until after my son was born. And so I had many, many years of exploring and trying to figure out what the heck was wrong with me, which led me on this long journey that has brought me here today. So I know I mentioned one time on the show that I was seeking utopia. Yes, I was an idealistic 19-year-old and was seeking utopia. And at one point, I think I was about maybe, 22. It was after my mom died. I did journey off to a number of intentional communities, or what you would know in the 60s were called communes. Today they're called intentional communities. They have an intention to function as a community. They're very similar to like Israeli kibbutz, the one that I went to a couple, but the one I'm going to share my little story about was really trying to be a complete egalitarian community, a total democracy, share all the resources, and there were a number of different cottage industries. So they were, and still are, they're still in existence today, but 98% self-sustaining with their own foods that they were growing. And then the rest of that income came from these cottage industries. They had cheese making and tofu making and hammock making and just all sorts of things. And it was wonderful. And my thing was, other than the herb garden, I was just the cook. I loved cooking. I started out in that little juice bar, making smoothies, and I was cooking for, 100 people on this farm, and we would get the vegetables straight from the garden, and I would prepare the food for 100 people. And it was, it was just wonderful because it was just this great community. And I was at that age, and there were a lot of folks around that were my age, a little bit older, and it was just this really amazing experience. And I learned so much about cooking. But a big part of my journey was this figuring out diet, nutrition. What is nutrition? What is diet? And we hear so many things about diet. And I did not know that my health issues were directly related to my ingestion of gluten, because that took many years to discover. But it led me on this path of finding the perfect diet. Like, what's the perfect diet? And so, I mean, there's raw food diets out there. There are vegetarian diets. There are vegan diets. There is, low carb, high protein. There's all of these different, intermittent fasting, like high calorie, low calorie. It's, there's so much out there. And so where do you find the answers, right? I was a raw food chef at one time. I was a raw foodist. This is a long time ago. This must have been in 1992. 92. I was really sick going through it. I ended up going to the Optimum Health Institute, which was a raw food retreat place, and learned so much about enzymes at that point, and making these fermented foods, and not heating our food over a certain temperature so that we don't destroy the enzymes and microbes and microbacteria. And actually, I became a colon therapist and a raw food chef, and worked in a little raw food restaurant at one point. That was a long time ago. That was still in Southern California. I think, again, like right around 92, on the beach, preparing raw foods. So not a super duper sustainable lifestyle, a great way, to do a cleanse, but raw foods are important. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Over my years, I have been a vegetarian, been a vegan, been a raw foodist, been omnivore, had a high protein diet, you name it, I've probably tried it. And all of this was really just in my self-discovery and trying to figure out how to resolve some of my health issues. So even at one point, I took up bow hunting. We have a lot of invasive species here that are being eradicated by the federal government because they are destructive ruminants, so sheep and goats. They're very destructive to our endemic species of plants here. We're an island, not that different from the Galapagos if you think about it, but we have all of these invasive species that are kind of wiping out these very rare endemic species, meaning that they are only found here. It's the only place in the world. Sheep have escaped from some of the ranches, goats have escaped, and they are really kind of wreaking havoc on some of our endemic species. So there's a big federal program to eradicate these invasive species. And so I kind of took up bow hunting at one point and learned how to clean animals in the field and what that was about. It was an ethical thing for me. I'd been a vegetarian for a long time, and I decided that if I was going to eat meat, and I was advised to eat meat for health reasons, I needed to figure out how to, be participatory in that process to eliminate my feelings of guilt and hypocrisy. So I did that, and that was a thing, and that was intense, and I learned a lot along the way. But one of the books that I love and started using when my boy was a baby is Nourishing Traditions. It's called Nourishing Traditions, written by Sally Fallon, and she wrote it with Mary G. Ng, PhD. And it is called The Cookbook That Challenges Politically Correct Nutrition and the Diet Dictocrats. So she challenges a lot of these sort of ideas of, cholesterol and bad cholesterol and fat being bad. And a lot of this is coming into the forefront now, but this, was about 20 years ago. So it was quite, revolutionary. And, she puts in a large amount of information about these indigenous peoples and how they have for hundreds of years or thousands of years had these practices with their food and food preparation. And, what does it mean to eat meat, and we're not supposed to eat these giant hunks of meat, but, cooking these soups and these stews. And it's just a wonderful book. So I'm pulling a little bit from that book. Today, I want to read you a teeny bit about enzymes and what is in this book about enzymes. Enzymes are complex proteins that act as catalysts in almost every biochemical process that takes place in the body. Their activity depends on the presence of adequate vitamins and minerals, particularly magnesium. So magnesium is one of those things that I take every night. It helps you sleep. It's a muscle relaxer. I soak in magnesium salts. I think it's something I've brought up in this show before as well for a stress reliever. So magnesium is very important for the activity of these enzymes. The major classifications of enzymes, the largest are the metabolic enzymes, and they play a role in all bodily processes, including breathing, talking, moving, thinking, behavior, and maintenance of the immune system. And I think that we have discussed that. I know we discussed that when we talked about the honeybees. I know I discussed that last week a little bit with the pancreatin and the protease. Very important things for our body. A subset of these metabolic enzymes act to neutralize poisons, carcinogens, such as pollutants DDT and tobacco smoke, and it changes them into less toxic forms, which the body can then eliminate. The second type of category for these enzymes are the digestive enzymes, and we were talking about that last week, right? So there's 22 in number. Most are manufactured by the pancreas. So that would be the pancreatin and the protease that I was discussing. Enzyme research has revealed the importance of certain raw and fermented foods in the diet. Raw fermented food, which we're going to be making today, helps start the process of fermentation and helps the process of digestion, I think I meant to write. And it helps the body to not have to produce as many enzymes. So the raw food itself contains a lot of these enzymes, these pre-digested, raw fermented foods. And that allows the pancreas to sort of relax a little bit and not have to produce all of these enzymes. So it's not as taxing to the body. It starts to digest your foods before you even start to chew them, right? Chewing is part of the digestion process. So you want to chew your food for a long time, right? That activates the gastric juices or those digestive enzymes, but also having those pre-digested fermented raw foods does assist in this process, as well as having these microbes, which we talked about last time, these probiotics, these very important bacteria that we need in our system. If the diet is exclusively cooked, it does put a strain on the pancreas, according to nourishing traditions as well. All enzymes are deactivated at a wet heat temperature of 118 degrees Fahrenheit and a dry heat of 150 degrees. So a pure raw food diet can be really challenging. If you live in the tropics, it's a little bit easier to do, right? It's hot here, but certain body types, require different things. I often look to Ayurveda. That's a big, resource to find very ancient and I think accurate information when we're really trying to figure out diet, where we're at. There's so many different factors: temperature, weather, seasons of our life, a lot of different factors. So you can kind of pull them all together and find this really interesting place where you can incorporate these different ideas to really personalize your nutrition for yourself. For example, like the elderly individuals or individuals with digestive issues, pure raw vegetables can be really difficult to digest, right? If you're getting a lot and you want that fiber are those probiotics. You want a lot of that fiber and vegetables in there, but those purely raw vegetables can be challenging for some individuals to digest. But when you have the fermented raw vegetables, the little microbes in there, the little probiotics and bacteria start that digestion process for you. So it's more readily available and easier to assimilate. It's a really amazing habit to get into, adding a little bit of these fermented foods into, if you can add them into all of your meals, it's wonderful. I mean, and if you look across the globe, and that's why I love this cookbook so much, but if you do, you can see certain practices even with, like, say, meat. Like, so in India, if you have your tandoori chicken, a lot of times it's in yogurt. It's been soaked in yogurt, or you soak your meat in these are acids to help pre-digest them, right? So lemon juice, some places you'll soak in lemon juice. Meat tenderizers, salts to aid in that digestive process, right? That being said, you can also incorporate these fermented foods, so raw fermented foods. So kimchi, which my friend Lydia is going to share with us today how to make at home. Easy peasy, lemon breezy, really. Sauerkraut is a really good one. Yogurt, and even if you can't do dairy, it's amazing, the dairy alternatives. I tried this cashew yogurt. It's awesome. I love it. Kefir, we talked about buttermilk last week. My goodness, kombucha. And then there's these fermented drink, June, mead, but that's a little alcoholic, right? But June is made from honey, fermented honey. So it is easy when you get into the practice, just taking a little scoop and, have it on the side. In the morning for your breakfast, in the evening for your dinner. We're so used to having these salads, and these salads are great because those are your leafy green vegetables. Those bitter greens stimulate the pancreas, stimulate those gastric juices that we produce. So that's a great thing to add in, right? Those leafy bitter greens, bitter herbs. But also having those fermented raw veggies, because not only are you consuming the vegetables, but any of the foods that you are eating alongside are going to be more easily digested, this combining of these foods. Fascinating stuff, bringing those nutrients to a place of being more bioavailable, easier to assimilate. So I am very excited to share with you an easy do-it-yourself recipe with my guest Lydia, and we will be right back after the commercial break.
Many people are searching for answers to health challenges. There are natural solutions for a healthy and empowered lifestyle that can be delivered right to your door. Email Carol at carolbirchwell.com and type Health with Kori in the subject line to receive a free ebook on essential oils. Visit carolbirchwell.com and connect with Carol via email for your free ebook. She will help you find the natural solutions that work specifically for you.
Visit KoriGaila.com and schedule your wellness consultation to receive a custom-designed, scientifically sound behavior action plan that is holistically based. Browse the website and enjoy free articles and valuable health and beauty information. Receive your free holistic skincare ebook, KoriGaila.com.
All right, aloha. I'm so happy to be back with my guest, Lydia Zuriga. That's a beautiful name. She's going to be helping us today with teaching us some how to ferment foods at home. Last week we were talking a lot about, getting that really good beneficial bacteria, good microbes in the body, and this is a wonderful way you can make these foods at home and really ensure that you're getting those bacteria. So I'm going to let Lydia go ahead and take it away. She's amazing, and I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Kori. Thank you so much for the invitation and to show you guys that it's a pleasure. So you pretty much can ferment any vegetable or fruit. And the process that we're gonna go through, the difference we're gonna show here how to make a kimchi specifically is just the ingredients that you use to season your final product. And to make a kimchi, what we usually use is a Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage, which you can either use the pieces like these or chop them down. And you need to use some ginger. The recipe calls for ginger, garlic, and chili. I have my chili already in powder, but you can use any chili, red chili, which it could be the long one and thin, or the short
you can
one.
actually cut them yourself, or you want to grind them?
You grind them,
okay.
yes. And then
And are they dried chili? You want the chili powder, so you want them dried. Okay.
it could be the chili powder, or it can be, well, usually those chiles already, when you cut them from the plant, they're already kind of dry, which is the, in Mexico we call it cola de rata, or which is the long, they can come like, in different shapes. But it depends how much you like the spiciness in your product. It's gonna be the chili that you use and the amount of every single ingredient for your kimchi.
So if you want it real hot, you want more chili.
Correct.
Okay.
And some recipes call for fish juice, so you can add or skip the ingredients that you don't like. That's the beauty of making your own kimchi, right?
So you can custom tailor it to your how you like your taste.
Yes.
If you want it hot or not as spicy. And now with the ginger and the turmeric, I see you're using fresh. So you want always to use the fresh, correct?
Yes, you want to use fresh. The turmeric is something that the original recipe doesn't call for it, but some people like to add some turmeric to it because of the wellness. When you are fermenting your food, you need to understand that all the nutrients of all the products get extremely higher, like in percentage. You get more nutrients aside of the probiotics and the good bacteria that you're getting, right? So as well, when you add the salt to your vegetables or fruit that you're fermenting, if you add more salt, it's gonna take longer for the fermentation process, or if you add less salt, it's gonna be faster.
Okay. I would think more salt would make it ferment quicker.
Okay,
But interesting.
but that's just how it is. As well, you need to get some points. If you're in a hotter weather, your fermentation is gonna be sooner. And if you're in a cooler or colder area, it's gonna take a little longer. But it depends. You can start checking your products from 3 days up to 6 months. And you need to put it in a dark area, ventilated area.
So when you say check, you're going to tell us what that means, yes?
Right, you need to start checking after the 3rd day. But let's get on it. So if you decide to use your bigger chunks of vegetable, it's gonna take as well longer to ferment. But if you slide it smaller, which I'm gonna show you here, so if you do it in smaller pieces like these ones, that's gonna be sooner. It's gonna be ready sooner. So what you want to do is, after you chop your vegetable, you want to massage it slowly, not too much,
Massage
with
it
some
slowly.
salt. Yeah. With some salt, and you smash it a little bit, until it starts to sweat.
Get a little bit moist, yeah?
Moist,
a little bit moist.
yeah, a little bit wet. And if you decide to use bigger pieces like these ones, you can massage it as well. And then
And so Lydia's already kind of softened
we
everything.
Already massage these ones, but I'm gonna show you with this one what you're gonna do.
Nice
So
relaxed cabbage.
You add a little bit of salt, and then you just want to massage, So the bacteria that you're going to create here gets affected as well with the energy of your emotions. So make sure when you're making all your your fermented food. You're not mad, you're not angry, you're not sad.
You're loving your kimchi.
Happy.
Loving to your kimchi.
Be happy and in peace, because it really affects
It does affect how you cook. I know when I cook when I'm upset or something's bothering me, I notice that nobody's asking for seconds. You know, if I'm in a really good mood, I'm putting all those good vibes. It makes me think of that movie like Water for Chocolate, you know,
where you go, exactly.
However she was feeling, it was going into
good
the food.
information. And it is the same when you eat. You don't want to eat when you're mad, upset, sad. Avoid eating for your body, you know, to actually, because it interferes with your whole digestion system.
It's true.
So make sure you're happy when you're making your kimchi and you're grateful to all the vegetables.
Because your emotions too, you know, affect all the chemicals in your body.
It's like microorganisms that you're working with.
That too. But when you were saying when you're eating,
right.
when you're upset, you have different chemistry in the body. It's going to affect how everything functions. You know, with those different hormones and chemicals going on.
That's correct, Kori. So at the same time, it's very important that the utensils that you use for preparing your kimchi is not metal, not even for like when after your product is ready, when you're taking out your products, make sure it can be wooden or plastic, but never use a metal container. It can be glass, ceramic for the preparation, but not for the storage when you are preparing, or this is the process of the fermentation.
And why not the metal?
Because it changes the chemistry, and then you can actually create the interfere with the bacteria. Okay, so when you have your product ready, what you're gonna make is you're gonna make the paste to season your kimchi. So the paste needs to have same amount of garlic, ginger, same amount of ginger, same amount of garlic, and it's up to you how much chili you can add to it. If you like it spicy, then you add more. If you don't like it that hot, then you add less chili. And you're gonna add some lime. Is this lime or lemon? I always get confused. In Mexico, we just have the Mexican lemon. So you make sure it's the sour lemon. And then you can make your paste either just chopping all the ingredients. Like I said, it's same amount of garlic, same amount of ginger. And I usually use same amount of chili. So you can chop that
with the turmeric there. Are you using the turmeric?
Some people like to add turmeric and some people don't, but this is just for the nutrients. Or changes the flavor as well.
A little bit.
In the one that we're making right now, I didn't add it, but there's two options. You can chop it down and then in a mortero, or like a
mortar and pestle.
Yes, make a little paste, or you can use this beautiful machine,
coffee grinder.
Yes, coffee and herbs grinder to make your paste, right?
Oh, okay. It smells so good.
I didn't add too much spicy because personally, even though I'm Mexican, I don't like too much.
Really? I like it hot, very hot.
I'll show you the paste that we're making. Okay. Yeah.
And so that is just about how much chili powder in there? Like a spoon?
Like a spoon.
And how much you like, yeah. Depends on flavor to taste.
I'll recommend that you add garlic, same amount, ginger, same amount, and then a little less chili, and then start tasting it when you're making.
And then you actually squeeze the lime in there before
to make the little paste. Okay. And then after your paste is done, well, only what you need to do, and I'll show you right now.
Just get right in there with your hands.
Add it in your vegetables, right? So you can see how it's here. And then you can just start smashing it again. So this Kori, you can see already how like it has created our own juice.
And that's with the salt, because when she was taking the chopped vegetables too, she was adding a little bit of that sprinkled salt and mashing it in there when she was massaging it, or lomi. We've talked about lomi before.
Yes. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna have your container ready, and you're gonna put your pieces in here. So like we said, if you cut it, the smaller is gonna be faster, and if you leave bigger pieces, it's gonna take a little longer. So I don't mix it. I have one container for my smaller pieces, or if I decide to have a bigger pieces kimchi, then I'll just leave it with the bigger pieces. But what you want to do is you want to start pushing it all the way down. So to take all the
You want to put the air out.
right.
So just pushing it in there
So
with
you're
your
pushing
hands.
it to take all the air out. And then you're gonna have some purified water where you're gonna add some salt to it. You know, like a cup and a half. And then you'll add like a spoon and a half full of sea salt.
And you want sea salt specifically.
Sea salt, it can be either Himalayan, Hawaiian, any type of sea salt, as they all have the same minerals, but just different quantity in each mineral. So that's what you need to make sure it
So
is.
the Himalayan, though, as I understand, is actually from the mountains, though, not the sea salt. But then we have like our Kona sea salt, and I know the Celtic sea salt's supposed to be really good. So, but you want to get those particular salts because of the minerals, right?
Totally.
You don't want table salt.
You don't want table salt. So what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna be mixing here just to show you how to add your water. And we have here the final product, as you can see. Make sure, like I said, to use a wooden spoon or to use, you can see the color.
And that's just the cabbage in there, or you have other
That's the
vegetables.
Chinese cabbage.
Wow.
That's just the Chinese
looks
cabbage
delicious.
there. And this, of course, as you can see, the color is more red because it's more spicy, right? So after you add all your vegetables, you know, how much water are you gonna add to this? Just to rest enough to fill the container all the way to the top. To make sure all your vegetables are covered in this sea salt water. Let's call it like that.
And you want to use the purified water, you had said. And then, of course, you want to use all organic vegetables always, right?
Right. Always is very important, Kori, that you said that, yes. Organic vegetables to give the right information to your body. So, because we add salt, you know, when you're massaging your vegetables, you know, and then the juice is already salt water. But the best water that you can have and give to your body is the water from the vegetables, right? Because the absorption is immediately. Your body recognizes all these and absorbs
And
it
it has
immediately.
all those nutrients and minerals in there from the vegetables themselves, right?
There you go, exactly. And that's why it's very important to eat kimchi or any fermented vegetables in every single meal to help with the digestion system. It stresses less all your digesting system, and it helps us to last better, longer.
That's true. And then because she's using the raw vegetables, all those enzymes are still there available.
Totally.
So if you have like cooked meat or something that's harder to digest, and you have your fermented raw vegetables, you get those digestive enzymes, and then you have these bacteria, these good bacteria that also help with the digestion process.
Exactly.
And this is the probiotics that are in this, correct?
This is the probiotics, correct? And like we said, you know, like in the fermentation process, all the nutrients that any vegetable you're using, for example, the garlic, you know, the ginger, how good it is, all get increases a percentage, like 1,000% more.
Wow.
So it is very important to as well.
So it makes the nutrients more concentrated.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it gives extra nutrients. Yes. And it is important to eat as much as fermented food as you can, because it needs to pass the whole stomach process, you know, with all the gastric acids and everything, and then survive the live bacteria to go all the way to the colon, where you want the bacteria to be. So not all the bacteria that you ingest for sure is gonna make it happen there, you know. So that's why it's good as well to give it variety, right? To like you can find fermented food. I mean, you can find probiotics in miso soup, in kombucha, in chucrut, in yogurt, you know, in a different
Last week I talked about buttermilk.
kefir. Oh, great, you know. So the more that you can, and different types that you can actually give your body and ingest, no, how do you say it? To eat.
Digest.
Ingest is the better. And let me tell you, Kori, another factor that makes the bacteria difference in your fermented food is depend what your hands and you been living in. For example, I have lived and I have get into the oceans in New Zealand and here in Hawaii and in Mexico, and some friends, you know, that they know about bacteria, they're like, oh no, I want to taste your and eat your kimchi and fermented food because it has different bacteria, different bacteria
Because of your own microbiome.
Totally.
So when your hands are in there, you're almost customizing it to your own body. Last week we were talking about that we're actually more bacteria than we are human cells.
Totally.
So very interesting. And then we register that bacteria, registers that is, you're putting that in with your hands, not only energetically,
as well.
but that's an interesting point, your own microbes. Of course you want to wash your hands before you touch.
Totally.
But still, even washing your hands, you still have your own kind of signature to yourself.
So the variety of the bacteria, the more variety that you have, is way better for your immune system. That's why if you go other places, let's always ask for what type of fermented food they have and try it. Because it's
smart.
Yeah.
Because it's exposed to the local culture. Just like in herbology, if you get the herbs from the local area, a lot of times it treats the local, maybe if you're sick with some kind of bacteria, the local herbs are going to address that bacteria. So also maybe buying local vegetables too, as much as you can.
Exactly.
Now, thank you for everything. Before we go, I'm wondering how long and when do we know when it's ready? What do we do?
So, okay, so make sure you put a little bit of a thicker and harder piece on top of your container, so it actually pushes the product down and it's under water all the time, okay? So you're gonna cover it, but not gonna tighten it, because this fermentation product is gonna keep on pushing the water out, you know, start getting like bubbly, you know? So you need to check your product. Once you put it like this in I usually put something on the bottom, like a little place to contain the water. And then you put it in a dark spot, in a darker place in your house. And make sure to check it at least daily to make sure it's still all covering water, okay? So if not, you need to add this water with salt and leave it there for, it depends, if you're in a hotter area, it will be faster. It can be ready like in 3-4 days, but the longer that you leave it there, it's gonna be more bacteria produced.
And how do they see? Do they just taste it? They test it?
Right. You can start testing. You need to see, like, when you open it, like, it starts making like these little bubbles, you know, that's the fermentation process. And then as well, I'm going to tell you how to make sure it's okay. If then after a while and you leave it there and then you see a white film on top, white film, it's all good. Your product's still good. Even if it's in the fridge, sometimes it makes that little white film. Just take the white film out and you can use your products. But if the film or some colorful like red, pink, or black,
no, that doesn't sound good.
Is your fermented food is not longer good, and you just need to throw that away, because you know it's obviously fungus and you get into all this.
No, you don't want to be eating fungus.
And then you can just make it again, right? Like, I mean, look at how easy you can do this with.
This is just, and then if you have those extra vegetables in the fridge and you don't want to throw them away, but you have too many vegetables to eat,
is the best way. As well, you can add spices, you know, like more herbs, like oregano, like cilantro, and then you start creating your own recipe, which you can, I mean, you're gonna call it as like kimchi, but it's just like fermented culture, you know,
so
like.
So like if you wanted to make, say, sauerkraut, you probably would leave out the ginger, leave out the garlic, maybe add some dill,
and use
salt,
red cabbage.
and then you have sauerkraut. And you can do this with cauliflower, or I've seen even fermented asparagus, and pretty much anything.
Recipes call for sugar. I just leave the sugar out
leave the sugar
for
out.
other recipes, which is the kombucha or the jun.
Right?
You have to. The jun is with honey, and that's a symbiotic bacteria, which is another one. But you know what? The important thing is, like I said, to have as many different varieties, so you have more bacteria in your body. And remember, not the bacteria doesn't mean it's bad bacteria or good bacteria. We need both bacteria. It's just the equilibrium.
Right, keeping everything balanced. Last week we talked about when, say I had a strep throat infection, we always have those strep bacteria, but if the bad ones start to colonize more, that's when we see infection. But they're always kind of living within us and without us, outside of us. And we talked a lot about our environment and how we're just surrounded with bacteria, and we are made up of bacteria. So it's one big happy family.
The bacteria, we all are bacteria. So let's keep our bacteria happy and healthy.
Happy and healthy.
With all this fermented food.
Thank you so much. This is such a lovely thing. I didn't know it was so simple to make kimchi. So it's a wonderful thing, I think, to do at home.
You want to try it?
I do want to try it.
So tell us how it is, right?
I'm sure it's delicious. And I'm gonna Oh, wow. Wow. Really?
So this is going to be ready.
It's really, really delicious.
4 or 5 days, remember. If it's colder, it takes longer.
How long did you let this one?
This is like a week old, and then in the fridge for longer.
It's delicious. I'm going to start making kimchi at home all the time.
Simple.
So now, Lydia, if anybody wants to find out more information about what you do, or I know that you do some teaching online and you do demonstrations, you have information.
Yeah, well, as a biohacker, I'm always into the wellness and all the techniques that are better for a body. I have a page in Spanish, which is Punto Consciente. You can find out that in Facebook and in Instagram. And my personal is Lydia Zuniga. And you will be putting all the things here, but Instagram is Lidisu. That's personal, but I love to share. I mean, health coach, whatever help you need, I'm always happy to help you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here today. The kimchi's delicious, and I hope you try this at home. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Maria Rene Davila, founder of the Successful Women in Business and Chief Executive Officer of the Global Trade Chamber. During this global pandemic, many small businesses are struggling to survive and find new clients. We have created a great opportunity for you. For the first time ever, we present the 100 Successful Women in Business live virtual convention. 5 reasons why you cannot miss this fabulous event. Learn from global experts at the conference. Meet the incredible women leaders being recognized from many nations. Visit the Business Virtual Expo. Network and introduce yourself to other business owners. Receive a complimentary copy of the Global Trade Chamber digital magazine. And don't forget the International Fashion Show. We have a very special gift for you to participate. 50% off of all packages participating in this fabulous event now. Visit our website www.100swb.com. I hope to see you there.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you joined me again this week. I hope to see you next week. Stay happy, stay healthy. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Maria Rene Davila, founder of the Successful Women in Business and Chief Executive Officer of the Global Trade Chamber. During this global pandemic, many small businesses are struggling to survive and find new clients. We have created a great opportunity for you. For the first time ever, we present the 100 Successful Women in Business live virtual convention. 5 reasons why you cannot miss this fabulous event. Learn from global experts at the conference. Meet the incredible women leaders being recognized from many nations. Visit the Business Virtual Expo. Network and introduce yourself to other business owners. Receive a complimentary copy of the Global Trade Chamber digital magazine. And don't forget the International Fashion Show. We have a very special gift for you to participate. 50% off of all packages participating in this fabulous event now. Visit our website www.100swb.com. I hope to see you there.